working on it. You gotta understand, I just woke up. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. But you know what makes a long day even better?
Our special guest.
My special guest. All the way here from Marlton, New Jersey.
Wait for them to put on the headphones and get to the mic.
How am I? How's my sensitivity? Am I peaking?
Good.
Mic levels look...
Remember, -12 is the...
Mic levels look spicy.
Not as bad as when we peaked the mic last time.
My special guest today is the one, the only, the one who put the headphones on wrong. My girlfriend. Introduce yourself.
Hello.
You have to say your name.
My name's Miriam.
Thank you, Miriam.
I am Jordan's girlfriend.
Yeah!
Okay, also, overslept.
We both overslept.
Great
And
job.
then I woke up to the funniest thing, a phone call from Phoenix, who, speaking of Phoenix, is going to be my my explaining partner for our hyperfixation this week.
What is our hyperfixation this week?
Oh gosh, it's got like a couple letters in it. How many letters?
Depends on how you want to spell it.
2 letters and an ampersand. How about that?
Perfect.
D.
And
D.
also known as the world's greatest role-playing game. Also known as my personal hyperfixation.
Also known as Gary Gygax's only reason to be remembered, but we don't talk about that.
We ignore him.
We
also
ignore
known
him.
as the thing that I tried to play with my classmates in high school, and then our DM fell asleep before every single campaign.
That's actually a great place to start. Phoenix, when did you get into D&D?
Let's see. So, when Stranger Things came out,
Oh.
I thought D&D was cool, and I think my mic levels are too low, according to my parents.
Oh dear.
But I wanted to do it with my brother, but it was really complicated. So I didn't. Then I found, there's D&D pod. Jordan, are you turning it the wrong way? I'm getting quieter.
Speak up.
I'm speaking up. Do we have the wrong mic on? Maybe. Hey, George. Unmute mic 3, maybe. If I go to this one. Wait, is this one working? Yes, it
I
is.
can hear you a lot better with that one.
Yep, we have the wrong mic on. Just leave it like this. I'll rock with this.
They're both on.
Well, this one's the one working.
Why is this not on?
I got into D&D actually after listening to the D&D podcast. Around 2020 during quarantine, I, funny enough, made friends over Animal Crossing. One of those friends, we did like a D&D one shot, and then it snowballed. And now I spent a lot of money on dice and books, and there's no going back.
There's never any going back. I started back in middle school, about 6th grade. My best friend Mackenzie, who, if she's not listening, I'm going to send her this recording because it's her birthday, and I wanted to say happy birthday, Mackenzie.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Anyways, I got her dice, and you want to know why I got her dice? Because she got into D&D before me, and she said, you know what? I got this fun game for you. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, that sounds so silly. I've heard of it. Why don't we play it? We played one campaign in middle school that went like nowhere, but then we kept playing more little campaigns, and then I got into one online that I was in for like 2 years before I had to leave because blah, blah, blah. I got grounded. I never got back into it. Then my sleep schedule got messed up. But long story short, I have now been into D&D for almost 7 years. I've been listening to D&D podcasts. I also have an ample dice collection. I have made so many characters I don't know what to do with.
Me too, and one of your characters even is a little Easter egg on our poster. For those of you who
is.
know, find RJ on our poster.
For
Good
those
luck.
of you who don't know, RJ's there, trust me.
He
Sometimes
is.
you don't always see him, but he's there in your heart,
And
too.
we're always thankful.
We're always thankful for the presence of RJ. But enough about my stupid guy that I played for like 3 sessions. Let's talk about the origins of this little hyperfixation of ours, shall we?
Sure. I don't actually know the origins that well. I know where he stole certain things.
I don't remember the origin. I don't remember the original name of the original game that he made this as a mod for. He, in question, is the infamous Gary Gygax, who, when did this happen? 80s? 70s? Probably 70s.
Late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around that point in time.
Victoria, you're the one with the phone open. Would you mind looking up when Gary Gygax made D&D?
I know the Satanic Panic was in the 80s.
Oh, Satanic Panic was a big thing, but we'll get to that point in the timeline in a minute. Anyways, it started with the 3 brown manuals, and then it got to Dungeons & Dragons, and then Advanced Dungeons & Dragons.
Which is what they play in Stranger
First
Things.
published in 1974.
Wow.
you,
and was
Victoria.
bought by Wizards of the Coast
Yep.
in 1997.
We'll get there.
We'll get to Wizards,
Wizards of the Coast also makes Magic the Gathering.
Yes.
which is why there's a lot of crossover.
It's the same universe.
Yeah, and I fucking love Magic.
We'll get into.
But that's not the topic now.
We'll
Yeah.
get there. Also, don't say the F-bomb. My mom's going to hear this.
My parents are actively
My mom
listening.
is listening.
My parents are listening at this
well,
moment.
Fee, your parents listen to me curse a lot.
Actually, yeah.
So did my mom, to be
Yeah,
fair.
but
yeah,
I-
Victoria
but
gets
there's
the F-word
other
pass.
people.
But
There's other people.
There are a lot of other people. Anyways, so it all started with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is what they play in
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things. It's
and they
like,
play it, and don't trust any of the things about D&D there. They get it wrong.
They get it wrong a
so
lot.
much. They got Vecna wrong. They got the Mind
all
Flayer
right,
wrong.
sit back down. It's just calm down. It's okay. Take a deep breath.
Shut up.
Take a deep breath. So a lot of editions have been released since then. I don't think we have time to cover what the hell happened in 3.5, but long story short, we're on fifth edition right now.
With 5.5, technically one D&D is coming out like in a year or two.
Really?
Yes, they're essentially doing 3.5, but for 5e in honor of the 50th anniversary.
All right, bet. So we will actually be getting a 5.5 soon, but for now we're running on the infamous 5e, which is
The best out of okay. It is the most accessible for people who want to learn D&D.
it's the most enjoyable, most accessible, and honestly, it is baby's first tabletop role playing.
It has the least math out of any D&D. There's no THAC0. And if you know, you know. I'm not explaining THAC0 because THAC0 makes me want to cry.
I definitely know. But there are a lot of dice. But we won't get into dice. What we will get into is
What is D&D?
a question that is so difficult to answer. Is it improv?
It is absolutely improv.
It's
Is it-
improv?
Especially if you're like Fee and act out your character's every move.
Of
I'm
course.
sorry, I think you mean both of us.
No, I've only ever seen Fee play though.
You need to see me play.
I intentionally made a character that could barely speak so that I wouldn't have to roleplay.
Oh wait, I wanna edit this. My mom sent me a message. My parents spend a lot of money on dice and books because that's a really good gift for me. Is dice. I will always accept more dice.
I will make
Buddy.
you dice then.
When your birthday rolls around, you're gonna have to get a bigger dice bag.
Cowards talk.
Speaking of dice,
Fee, I would like you to understand that
I want to give a special shout out. You can stop.
Yeah.
I want to give a special shout out to the dice set that you bought me
Yep.
because I still use it. And you can speak it to the mic.
Is it on? I don't know.
It's on.
Alright.
You just have to speak a little
Speak
bit
up.
Yeah, I didn't know what to get you, and I
It was early on. It's okay.
yeah. So I just got that, and I thought it was pretty good.
And they're my favorite dice.
They're really pretty dice.
They're so pretty.
Wait, which one are these?
They're the metal alloy ones with the blue shiny part, and they have they have a nice weight in your hand. The points are just a little too pointy, but like in the right way.
Oh, it's like the D4s that do 1d20 damage. For reference, a D4 is a dice. It is shaped like a pyramid. It is perfectly pointed at the top. They hurt to step on.
It's a
Yeah.
They
Caltra.
really hurt.
When you say D blank in D&D, besides the phrase D&D, it means the die and whatever number of sides it has. So, for example, D6 is your standard die that you usually imagine when you say dice and don't play D&D. D20 is the most common. It's the one with all the silly little triangles on it.
It's like the symbol of
The
D&D.
D1,
It's the symbol.
The D100 is the one that I want, and it is so impractical, and
Oh, the D100 looks like a ball.
and it's really hard to read.
D4, no, that's my favorite way to explain it. D4 is a pyramid. It has 3 sides and then 1 on the bottom. The D6 is your standard die. A D8 is like 2 D4s. It's like 2 pyramids, ass to ass.
My
Alright,
parents are
A
listening.
D10 is like a D8, but oh, your parents are listening.
Add an extra side to each side.
A D, I'll tell you the joke later, but the parent version is a D10 is a D8 that hit puberty. And a D12 is a D20 that hasn't hit puberty yet.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
And then D100 is a ball. It's just a ball. I'm sorry.
My dad has one, and I'm jealous, and I kind of want to steal it.
They were selling them at this game store in Georgia, but I don't have time for that
I'm
story.
going to Comic-Con tomorrow. I might be able to find some cool dice to bring back
Buy
for you guys.
me dice.
I genuinely
Jordan,
might.
my dad is telling you to make the joke.
I don't think we can. I think
Wait, no. So, would someone's mother be offended? Would someone's Christian aunt be offended?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, then we can't say it.
I think Kuro would be pretty mad at us if we said if you say what I think you're gonna say.
I will tell you after recording, but I know we love dice, and I know we love the history of D&D, but I do want to ask, is there any particular blind spot you guys can think of that you would like us to explain? Is there anything
How the stats actually work? Because every time I've made a character, I've just used the D&D Beyond.
Oh.
Are you talking about how to roll your stats or what they mean?
Actually determine like proficiency bonuses and all that
proficiency
shit.
bonus scales with your level. I'm getting the tomato chart.
The tomato chart?
Turn your voice. Just speak a little bit quieter.
Or push it a little
Or I'll
bit.
turn your game down.
So there's a common thing with D&D where you can explain every stat and every skill with
Just explain the stats, not
tomatoes.
the skills. Just explain
So
the stats.
strength is your ability to crush a tomato. Dexterity is your ability to dodge a tomato. Constitution is your ability to eat a bad tomato. It's how much of a tank you are determines your HP and everything.
Eat a bad tomato or take a rotten tomato to the face.
It's your resilience.
Intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. It's important. Because wisdom is knowing that you shouldn't put a tomato in a fruit salad and that ketchup is not a fruit smoothie. We will not be taking further questions.
Ketchup is a fruit smoothie.
You're wrong.
You will step out of my studio.
And charisma is being able to convince other people to eat a tomato-based fruit salad and that ketchup is a fruit smoothie.
I don't have very good charisma, clearly.
I have been told that charisma is one of my higher stats, but that strength is my lowest.
Strength is my lowest. Intelligence is my highest. Wisdom is one of my lower ones.
What did you guys say were my highest?
Your highest are probably
Strength.
Intelligence, strength, and
Strength?
intelligence.
And either, no, Constitution.
Oh, strength and constitution.
Yeah.
Strength and constitution are your two highest.
And then there's,
Ooh.
I think dexterity might be the lowest. You've watched me just throw
Stumble.
things.
Yep.
I have watched you fall over nothing.
Dexterity and charisma. These two can tell you. I went to a party last night and I went and tried to talk to somebody and I ended up talking about school.
Yup.
Which is a pretty good.
I
They're high
disappeared.
school.
And then I proceeded to talk to the same person, and now we're snap friends.
Yeah, he's really
So,
cool.
That's what a higher charisma score looks like.
I have situational charisma.
You have situational charisma.
Same.
I can also explain the classes, because D&D, there are a bunch of classes. Let me pull up the list so I don't forget any of them, because there are a few. D&D 5e classes. Because each one has their own role. So, there is the Barbarian.
My personal favorite.
The Barbarians, think of a Viking. They don't wear much armor.
Okay, think of a Viking, but like bigger.
Bigger. They don't wear much armor.
No,
They
no,
carry-
you're thinking too small. Bigger. A little bigger? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, okay,
that's good. That's
so
good.
they don't wear much armor. They carry a really big weapon, and they get really mad.
Wait, bigger weapon.
Really big weapon.
Okay, bigger.
You ever see the Buster Sword? That.
A little bit bigger.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
And then they get really mad, like the Hulk. And then they hit things really hard.
No.
Yeah, these two said that I'd be a barbarian.
You strike me as a barbarian. After barbarian, are we going in
Alphabetical order, it's easiest.
well then you missed artificer.
I forgot. It's not.
Artificers
is
are
my favorite.
your alchemists,
They're Torbjorn.
your tinkerers, your engineers on the field.
They're enchanters.
They're
They're
Torbjorn.
STEM kids.
They take magic and go,
STEM
I
kid.
wonder if I can create a cannon. And they do.
And then they do.
They take magic, they go, I wonder if I can create essentially a robot pet. Then they do. They take magic, they go, can I create Iron Man armor? They
And then
can.
do. Let's see. There's artificers.
Barbarian.
There's barbarians.
There's bards.
There's bards. Oh, bards get a.
Have you heard of the phrase jack of all trades, master of none? The bards are the jack of all trades. They are good, a
Also
little bit good
rogues.
at everything.
Rogues have a trait.
No, rogues are the master of one. But bards also, they take their charisma. They take the song of creation throughout the world, and they use that to do magic. They support their allies with their incredible charisma and with their
Inspiration.
spells. With
Cha-cha-cha.
bardic inspiration, their main feature.
With cha-cha-cha.
There are clerics.
May I?
You can explain a cleric.
I like explaining them in terms of high school movie stereotypes. So, clerics are... You ever see those kids that, like, they wear the white short-sleeved button-ups, but they always have a button to the top button, and you wonder, how can that be comfortable? It is for clerics.
Yes,
They are straight-laced, not all of them, but most of them are very straight-laced and very faithful. The whole thing about clerics is that they serve their god on the field of healing people and doing good in the world and all that jazz.
Or dealing a lot of damage.
But that's, that's not very holy,
They're
is
also
it?
God's favorite child.
They're also God's favorite.
Then there
God's
are
favorite.
the druids. They love nature.
Hippies.
They're hippies. They love nature. They have nature-based magics.
Hippy dippy.
They also get to turn into animals.
Crunchy munchy hippy dippy nature druids.
And they turn into animals that they've seen.
If someone gets that reference, I'm going to give you a hug.
Is it Dungeons and Daddies?
We will get to podcasts in the latter half of this episode.
Okay. Then there's the fighter.
Oh, the generic. Wait. Druid. Fight.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I know, it feels weird every time, but yeah.
It feels so strange.
So
to
the
not have
fighter
something.
is... They're a jock. They're the stereotypical, like... Bro,
The
I'm just
fighter-
like...
If the barbarian is the guy who's starting a fight in the hallway, the fighter is the guy who's finishing the fight in the hallway, but also doesn't get in trouble because he has such a good reputation with the
trying to-
principal, and he has so much potential on the swim team.
I'm trying to think, like... Who in Lord of the Rings is a fighter? Because the best way to explain it is, like, Gimli is a barbarian.
Forget the Lord of the Rings. There is no generic fighter. Fighters are your average, typical adventurer type.
yeah.
You know who's a fighter? Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, he's a fighter.
He's a fighter.
Unless it's Ocarina of Time.
Unless, then it's a bard.
No, then he's like a...
A toot toot.
He's a ranger, I think. And a melee ranger.
But he plays a toot toot toot.
Yeah. He does that in a lot of games. But then there's the monk.
Wait, no,
Ooh.
here's a better example. Wind Waker Link.
Yeah, that's a bard.
That's Bard.
Yeah, it's a bard.
So, Jordan, do you want to explain the monk? Because I hate explaining monks.
Monks are they are spiritual, but not in the same way that druids, not druids, not in the same way that clerics and, who we'll get to later, paladins are. They are very spiritual in an energy sense. They use their ki and their inner energy to deal what
Mediocre
will
damage.
eventually become pretty good damage, but the main attraction is that they don't need weapons to do it. They can just hit you.
They don't need weapons. They don't need armor. They show up, and they will wake up naked in a room, and they're at peak capacity.
They can just wreck your shop in nothing but pants and a smile.
Yep. So, as you mentioned, time for paladins.
Oh, I love paladins. Can I explain the paladins?
I want to explain one thing. So we all have keep mentioning where their power comes from. Paladins are just dedicated.
Paladins are dedicated. And when I say dedicated, I mean my high school stereotype for them is, alright, imagine a guy. Okay, he's wearing a blue polo shirt. And he's got khakis. And he's got really, really shiny business shoes. And he has, get this, a pocket protector. Boom, paladin.
He's the student body president.
He's a student
He
body
is the
president.
son of the pastor of the local church.
He's the son of the pastor of a
So-
local church, and he's such a good little Christian boy.
Through
He's gonna go to
through
college
whatever
and make
oath
us
they
proud.
take, they then are able to get divine powers and protect people. And oh my god, they deal so much damage. Why do they deal so much
so
damage?
like the nicer version of a warlock.
We'll get into warlocks.
I
Warlocks
played-
are if you take a cleric and then you go, huh?
I
But we'll
played a
get there.
warlock one time.
I'm gonna explain this one. This is my favorite, my personal favorite class other than artificers. Rangers.
Oh, have fun.
So
Rangers are the weird kid that show up in like a
Yeah.
fedora with a
Okay.
a sword.
I'll
cane.
start this. The Ranger class was inspired by Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. They are, if you take a fighter, make them a little bit less good at fighting, but in exchange, give them incredible skills in nature and wildlife. Give them nature magic. Let them be the best trackers in the world. Let them be unparalleled in the wilderness. That's how you get a Ranger. And they have really cool subclasses, like the guy who gets a pet dragon. The guy who gets a pet animal of whatever kind he likes.
Why can't it be me?
The guy who just is surrounded by a swarm. A swarm. A swarm of what? You choose.
Rats.
Yes.
I want rats.
You can have rats. You can have fairies.
Yay.
You can have bees. I played a bee swarm keeper.
Oh my god, the bees.
But yes,
The
I will
bees.
specify, under each of these classes, there are many subclasses, which lets you just get so much more customizable.
I like beast barbarians.
They're just barbarians who just, they
Bite.
get mad,
They bite.
and they like, have like a 1/3 of the way to becoming a werewolf.
You know how you have your scary dog friend where you jokingly say, haha, he doesn't bite. The Beast Barbarian does. And it deals, oh gosh, I think a D8 of damage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is a strong amount of damage. For reference, a commoner,
Anyways.
the average person, has 4 health.
At most.
At
Anyways,
most.
what's after?
Rogues.
Oh, rogues, my beloved.
The
So
master
rogues,
of one.
Rogues are silly. Rogues can hide and then hit you really, 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 really hard.
It's called sneak attack, but in reality, it's
When you have advantage,
It's-
which is a
or
mechanic I will not
have one,
explain.
or have someone being next to the target. But rogues are the idea. Rogue sneak attacks the idea of you're distracted, there. That's where to hit you, and then they hit you, and in that one strike, they'll deal so much damage that they can. It hurts,
It hurts a lot.
and they also
They're also
are.
sly little dexterous little things.
They're incredibly dexterous, and also they get expertise and lots of features to make sure if they don't want to fail in something,
They won't.
they don't fail. They will roll so high, it hurts.
There are some builds where they cannot roll under a 20.
That's easy. Try not rolling under a 30. I've seen it.
I know, but the 20 it's impressive to people who don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So,
what's
Jord-
after that?
You'll love this one.
Can I?
Do you know what it is? What's the next letter after R?
R-S.
There you go, Jorts. Have fun.
Sorcerers. Oh, sorcerers, I love you so much. So, there are basically
They're the burnt out gifted kids.
there's a lot of magic people in D&D, but the core 3 casters are the sorcerer, the warlock, and the wizard.
Sorcerer, cleric, bard, wizard. Warlock is not a full caster.
I always play them as one. But
They're
can I
weird.
get to the point?
Yeah.
There are more, obviously, clerics get their power from the gods, and druids get their power from nature, and wizards get their power from learning and education. And sorcerers were just born that way, baby. They are
They're
the
built
gifted
different.
kids. They are the ones who are built different. They're burnt out gifted kids who don't know what they want to do. They just kind of do things.
And they break the rules of magic.
All of them get their magic from different places, but they all follow the same rule, and that is there are no rules. It's like that kid who walked into your math class and then solved the problem with the wrong formula, but got the right answer faster than
Like the
everyone
teacher
else.
looks at them and go, that made no sense, but you're right.
The sorcerer is Matilda from the movie Matilda,
Yeah.
directed
And
by
also,
Danny DeVito.
they have a lot of really fun subclasses, like wild magic, where
Oh, I
where
love wild magic.
so they'll cast a spell. Oh God, I'm a sheep.
Oh god, I'm a sheep.
Oh God,
I cast a spell. Oh God, something went wrong. I just cast fireball on myself. Everyone's dead.
Sometimes you cast a spell and it just like causes a small puddle of grease to spread out from your feet. But
And sometimes you turn into a plant.
and sometimes you do turn into a potted plant.
Okay, next up is the warlock.
Oh, I'm just gonna go down these. Can I just do these
Oh,
two?
go
real quick?
ahead.
So, if we're covering like all the spellcasters and where they got their powers, the warlocks got their powers from the dark side.
They made a deal with Cthulhu, basically.
They made a
Not
no,
always
not
Cthulhu.
always.
No, I'm saying
Sometimes-
Cthulhu as a example.
The stereotype
Sometimes
is the
it's
devil.
Asmodeus.
It's the devil most of the time.
It's
no,
usually-
my character got her powers from
It's
Cthulhu.
usually Satan. But it's not actually usually Satan, it's just like the D&D analog for the devil. But basically the whole thing is that they get their power from a pact with a darker, more powerful being. And the rest, as they say, is Eldritch Blast history.
They just have to do what the being says.
And in return, they get awesome cosmic power.
Yeah, they're okay.
They're mid. Anyways,
But each one of their subclasses lets you have a different patron. Like you can have a genie.
I like the undead one.
Yeah, undead's really good. You can have a fae. You can have a great old one like Cthulhu.
Or
Yeah.
a demon.
A demon, yes. Or my favorite one. One of my favorite ones.
From the depths of
The fathomless. There's something in the bottom of the ocean,
And it likes you.
and it likes me. Don't ask what it is,
It thinks you're nice.
but it likes me. Okay.
And then
Yeah,
after
thanks.
that's the wizard. And wizards are nerds. Wizards are huge nerds who cheat. They don't cheat on every test, but they might as well because they're getting hundreds on everything, and they shouldn't be. And they can just do anything,
And
and
they-
it's very unnecessary.
And no matter what class it is, they're good at it. They just keep like, oh, wait, can I see your notes real quick? And they understand it better than you reading your notes.
In other words, they can take spells from other
Wizards.
classes.
Oh,
Other
so
wizards.
basically the kid in my calc class who got a 99 when most of us got below a 70.
That's
Yes.
the wizard.
But here's the most fun part. Gandalf. He's not a wizard.
He's not a wizard.
He's a sorcerer.
He is. Because wizards, the one catch is that they get their magic from education, which would be a great thing for my teachers to use on me to get me to study harder, but they never did. Anyways,
Imagine
wizards are the
studying.
ones who really have to try for their power, so I guess they technically earned being so good at everything, but
They're the kid who's in AP, but like
the kid who's in AP but doesn't have a life because of how hard he studies, that's the wizard.
Oh, so my entire high school.
You went to wizard school.
I went to wizard school.
do we want to get into the Blood Hunter?
We do not want to get into Blood Hunter. What I do want to
It's
get
unofficial,
into in the
but cool.
I came in here with a plan, and my plan was that the latter half of this show would be about the influence on pop culture. Do you want to start with Stranger Things, or do you want to start with Critical Role?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Things has the more mainstream impact. Critical Role has changed D&D forever.
Start big, get smaller.
So start with Stranger Things?
Yes,
So Stranger Things, the very first scene is them playing D&D.
loosely.
Loosely. Half the things about D&D in it, like the Mind Flayer, that's not what a Mind Flayer is. A Mind Flayer is many things, not just one big thing.
It's not what it looks like either.
The Demogorgon, that's not many things. That's one thing, and you don't want to touch it. And Vecna
was a person.
Vecna was a very specific person with very specific things, and I could go on a very long rant about all the things they got wrong about Vecna, and I'm
Do
not going
not.
to, because you can see I'm getting annoyed by how fast I'm talking.
I can see your face like contorting into something angrier and angrier.
My parents who are listening have heard me do this rant before, and I do it again.
Don't do it on it. We have less time than I would like.
That's your fault.
That is your fault.
I am more than aware.
So Stranger
I sprinted
Things,
across
due to
campus.
that, gave people realizing, oh, well, this D&D thing sounds kind of cool. Being able to play a character and have fun in a fantasy world. That's what made me realize D&D sounds fun. And then a few years later, I went, ooh, D&D, because of the next thing, D&D podcasts.
The shows surrounding D&D are so...
Now,
I request that we only spend a little bit on each individual one, because there are a lot that we like.
yes. So when we say D&D podcast, we're not talking about podcasts discussing D&D. No.
We're talking about listening and watching as people play D&D.
And you get to become...
It sounds boring.
It sounds boring, but then you realize, oh my god, you're watching people write a story.
You're
It's
watching
basically
people write
it's
story.
basically an improvised radio play.
It's an improvised radio play, and depending on which one you're listening to or watching,
Very different
it
tones.
can change your life
So,
or make it
Like my
exponentially
favorite,
worse.
the one that made me fall in love with D&D more than anything, is the biggest show that has had
An animation.
a show on Amazon Prime TV, Legend of Vox Machina. Please watch it.
Go watch it.
It has had their episodes be put in movie theaters.
And
It is the
star-studded cast.
A
really.
star-studded cast.
Don't get
and
into Matt Mercer.
Matt Mercer, Ashley Johnson, Liam O'Brien. If you know these people, you know these people.
Matt Mercer is in everything.
Laura Bailey. But they also have the highest earning Twitch channel, Critical Role. Critical Role is, as they like to phrase it, welcome to Critical Role, where a bunch of us nerdy-ass voice actors sit around and play Dungeons & Dragons. Each episode, they have done 3 campaigns. They're in their 3rd. Each episode is about 4 hours. Each campaign is over 100 episodes. You watch as Matt Mercer, one of the greatest DMs of all time, the people who write the story, take control of the world, crafts you an incredible, beautiful world, an incredible, beautiful narrative, each one with different meanings. I will be honest, I have almost cried, and I am slightly getting teared up thinking about some of the things that have happened.
My turn.
Yeah.
I have 2 to talk about.
I
actually have 3.
Jordyn,
but one of them's way more.
say
important
the
than
intro
other
to the one that you love the most.
No, we're not there yet.
Oh, we're
because
not?
I have one to thank. I have one to thank that I never actually watched, and it is Ox Ventures, from. Oh God, what is it? What was the YouTube channel?
Oh, I have one to thank as well.
Thank
I
one.
don't keep up with it, but it is called Hero Squad. It is by a group called Stumped Gamers. I don't know if they're still doing it. I stopped watching at a certain point, but it made me fall in love with D&D,
Okay.
and it is good. It's goofy.
So there's this gaming, gamer review top 10 list kind of channel run by very passionate gamer people called Outside Xbox on YouTube, and then one day they just got into D&D, and that D&D little live show podcast was called Oxventure, and Oxventure got onto the YouTube recommended list of one 6th grader who was my best friend Mackenzie, who immediately got into D&D, who got me into D&D, who eventually found a little podcast called Dungeons and Daddies.
It is not a sex podcast, as
It's
they say
not
every
sex.
episode.
Every episode they open with the same thing. Dungeons and Daddies. Not, can I say that on air?
That is not a sex podcast?
No, it's not sex. It's a
Oh, it's not a BDSM podcast.
Yes. Welcome to Dungeons and Daddies, not a BDSM podcast, and it's the same thing every episode, and I love it so much. Anyways,
One of the first things that I talked to Jordyn about was this.
one of the first things that I talked to Miriam about was this. Would you like to talk about that?
Well,
Look closer
I-
to the mic.
I don't know. You just started talking about it. I'm like, what is she? What? I was confused because you said something about, like, I understood it was like Dungeons and Dragons, but, like, I don't know.
So
It was weird.
let me try to explain this. The best way I can phrase it is, from my rudimentary knowledge, Jordyn knows a lot more. So that for those of you who know anime, it is about a group of 4 dads. And 3 dads and one father who stepped up.
He's a real dad.
He's the dad who stepped up.
No, he's a real dad. Ronald F. Stampler is a real dad.
He tries
and
his hardest.
He tries and he succeeds.
But
he succeeds.
So-
look me in the eye. He is 5'4", but he is 6'2" in my heart.
Valid. But so,
I'm
for those
shorter than
who know
Ron.
anime, they know this term. It's about a group of 4 dads
Okay.
who got isekai'd. They were
Magically
taken
transported into the Forgotten Realms, and they're now on a quest to rescue their lost sons.
before their wives killed them.
If we're really talking correct
that's
terminology,
Carol, alright, the
it's
other
something like transmigration.
It's isekai.
Okay, nerd.
I only know that because one of my classmates in high school, that was the only thing she would read.
But yes, it is. Critical Role has a very serious tone, but has little jokes in between of the players making sex jokes or little. I'm not gonna make the joke, the one that I showed you,
The one that you
at
showed me.
the frat party.
The Critical Role is a podcast and a show that more or less takes itself very seriously. It weaves you in in-depth, emotional tale of high fantasy and wonder.
With little
and
jokes in
Dungeons
between.
and Daddies was made by a bunch of guys who made YouTube videos back in the day and didn't know what else to do. And then one time they were on like a trip somewhere in like Arizona, and one of them's like, "Hey man, it would be really funny if we made a podcast about dads and Dungeons and Dragons." And now here we are,
Well,
like 4 years later, and we're halfway
No,
through season
Jordyn,
2.
we're not gonna tell the whole story, but who said that and what was the trip for?
His name's Freddie Wong.
For those of you who know Freddie Wong,
Yeah.
Freddie Wong.
And for those of you who don't, go look up Freddie W on YouTube and have fun.
Look up Video Game High School.
Look up Video Game High School. Then look up Freddie W. Then look up F Wong. Then look up Dungeons and Daddies. Then call it a night.
Completely unrelated. I just found a post, or I saw a photo of a badger turned into a theremin. I feel like that would be an amazing bard's instrument.
I have said
I would
one of
play
these
that,
days I will play a bard and their instrument will be an automaton.
Jordan.
Oh my
I wasn't
goodness
joking.
gracious
Okay.
above.
But Jordyn, what was that trip for?
Oh, Anthony Birch. You might know him, you might not. He kind of wrote a couple video games like Borderlands 2 or whatever. Anyways,
you might know his sister, like Ashley
Birch.
the
Oh, you
famous
know.
voice actor, like
famous voice actor.
voice of Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn. Yes, Dad, that was for you.
She's a lot of things. But most importantly, she's the sister of the guy who was in Arizona to catch his dad cheating on his second wife. And that is how
Oh, but Jordyn, what day was it?
Father's Day.
Of course. And that's why they were talking about dads.
And now here we are, a cast of 5 complete idiots, now with like 2 more children and 3 more cats than there were when they started. And you know what? It's been a hell of a ride. And it's, I know I'm saying it's like a goofy comedy podcast, but it really does make you cry. But you really need to get to episode 60 to hear it.
Oh.
Lucky for you, they're not Critical Role, and they actually narrow their episodes down to like an hour to an hour 30.
But Critical Role is so good, even if I'm like, at this point.
Okay, but
see,
is Critical Role season 1 exactly 69 episodes?
no, it's 115.
Joke's on you. Does Critical Role have, I think, one of, if not the most subscribed to D&D podcast Patreons?
They don't have Patreon. They make so much money off Twitch.
I think Dungeons and Dads has one of the highest subscribed to Patreons.
Based.
Proud member of it here. Get it. The bonus content is to die for. I'm talking to you, Marley. Yeah, I know you're listening to me. Get D&D Dad's Patreon. It's worth it. They just released the murder mystery.
Okay, but Jordyn, what about another podcast? One that we might buy a subscription for because
Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Dimension 20. So it is on Dropout TV, which is the streaming channel service owned by the company formerly known as College
Humor.
Yes, that
College Humor.
Humor. But
the CEO of Blank College Humor.
Brennan Lee Mulligan is the DM. He is known for the CEO of Blank videos, getting very mad,
getting very passionate in game shows,
being able to talk
about
like
birds.
a Shakespearean monologue consistently about any topic.
Have you ever seen his Declaration of Independence reading?
No. Have you ever seen him talk about birds for like a long time?
I love him talking about birds. I need to show you the Everyone listening at home, look up Brennan Lee Mulligan Declaration of Independence and thank me later.
So, but Dimension 20 is not like the other ones. Dimension 20 is not like one or two campaigns. No. Jordyn, do you know how many campaigns there are right now?
Wait, was it the Declaration of Independence? It was one of those important documents.
So, do you know how many seasons of Dimension 20 there have been now?
I don't know.
So the other ones, they always have the same cast. And they're always longer ones.
It's been the same stupid Freddie Wong for the last
Dimension
5
20
years.
is different. They will have many seasons. Seasons are shorter. Maybe like 10, 20 episodes. And each time it's a new cast. Like people like Matthew Mercer from Critical Role. He's been on it.
Freshman year of Fantasy High is still one of my favorite casts.
There's people like Hank Green. Yes, the guy who
Hank
taught
Green.
you biology and chemistry.
Yeah.
No, that's not where I know him from.
Where do you know him from?
Vlog
Brothers?
No, I watched SciShow on my own. I watched
Really?
the videos about like computer viruses and stuff.
Yes, the guy whose brother wrote Fault in Our Stars. That's not a joke.
Yeah, I found this out like last year.
Really?
John
I've
Green,
known.
the guy from Crash Course in History, wrote Fault in Our Stars, 5 Feet Apart. He writes books that break your heart.
You guys didn't know that?
One time.
No, I've known this for years.
These two know this. I did Quiz Bowl in high school. And basically, one of the things that you'll get as a prize if you're one of like the top scorers is you get to, or standard is you get a book. And at one of our tournaments, one of the kids thought that a book by John Green was a book by Hank Green. And when he went to get the book, the guy that was like giving the prizes said something about that it's that it's gonna be really sad. And this kid was unaware what the book actually was.
What book was it?
I don't remember which book. It was something John Green.
But also, I want to bring up, so Dungeons and Daddies and Critical Role, every season they have a consistent tone.
Yes.
Dimension 20 doesn't.
Dimension 20
So-
is... If D&Dads and Critical Role are basically like...
TV shows.
They are consistent TV shows. They are releasing multiple seasons. Dimension 20 is like an anthology series.
You have everything under the sun, like really cool high fantasy, living in like magical tech world in the future, or
High school.
Magic High School.
Magic
or,
High School was oh my gosh.
Candyland.
Candyland. Oh.
That's not a joke. And they sold the miniatures. There was a miniature of a single sprinkle. It sold for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, and I would have paid more.
Of a
Did you bid
single
on it?
sprinkle?
No.
Okay, good. Single
I missed the
sprinkle.
bidding. I missed the bidding.
One sprinkle.
What is sprinkle?
It sold for like at least 300.
I think so.
Yeah.
You want to look it up?
I will look it up. What do I look up?
Dimension 20 sprinkle miniature. Dad, how is it Dragon Ball? What do you mean it's Dragon Ball?
What does he mean it's Dragon Ball?
Because Dragon Ball's always different. Like the tournament arcs.
Dragon
the
these
cells. Out. Jordyn, out. You're kicked off the show. You're done.
I
Wrap
don't-
it up. You're out
I
of
don't
here.
know what you said. I didn't say anything.
Okay, found how
They made
much.
that joke on D&Dads. It devastated my entire day.
1,900.
For the sprinkle? Yeah.
All right, maybe I wouldn't pay that much. Gosh. Jeez.
You should have seen how much there was a whole crowdfunding operation to try and get like the big villain. There was a crowdfunding operation and they were going to send it across the world. Oh, because Dragon Ball is a big anthology. Yes, then by that logic, it's similar to Dragon Ball. But no, it's not, because it's never the same characters. Unless it's multiple seasons.
Huh. Well. Huh.
Like, Dragon Ball always has Goku.
Man,
Dimension 20, you'll get attached to a character, and then you have to leave them behind.
I still miss him.
Fantasy High? You're getting a new season.
I know, but Gorga just hit on a different level.
We've been talking about Dimension 20 longer than any of the other podcasts.
So, anyways, in D&Dads, I do need to warn you that there's, like, a lot of, like, generational trauma. But honestly, I think we should stop talking about the podcast.
Okay, but I also want to warn you, if you do watch Critical Role, as serious it is, they make a lot of sex jokes.
Oh, yeah, they say the same warning at the front of every episode of Dungeons & Daddies. Can I say it?
Say it.
Dungeons & Daddies is a rowdy, horny, violent podcast for grown-ups. Content warnings can be found in the description.
Critical Role, they'll just be, like, talking about something, and then next thing you know, they're trying to shoot a specific type of video to avoid combat. That's not a joke. They did that.
Buddy.
They failed.
Christian Ant.
Yeah.
I didn't specify.
Christian Ant.
Here's
It
the
could be a
thing.
music
Talking
video.
About
Your
D&D
Christian Ant knows.
Talking about D&D in the first place is going to piss off someone's Christian Ant.
Oh, yeah, we never talked about the Satanic Panic.
Oh, my goodness.
So
you want
we
to
have
spend
10
the
minutes.
You want
Yeah.
to spend the last 10 minutes
So,
talking about
I-
the controversy?
I actually did a research paper on this in high school. So in the 1980s, people looked at D&D and went, oh,
That looks
monsters?
satanic.
Devils?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Demons? Oh my god, that's satanic. My son could never play that game.
That's not even... We're looking at more like... My little Billy would never play a game about the devil and about sin. And then little Billy is in the basement pretending to be a cleric. Like, I'm going to save the world and purify it from the darkness of Asmodeus.
And then they go, if my little Billy played that game, he'd try to kill himself and other people. And it led to a big drop-off in the hobby, which is a shame.
Which is it?
Because for those of us who have played D&D and enjoy it, it is one of the most fun things you'll ever do.
But now we're up. We're back.
Nothing feels better than when you roll a dice
And you roll well.
and you see a 20,
God,
and the roll
rush.
and the roll was to see if you could flip a bottle and have it land.
Yes! Oh my
And then
God.
there's-
And nothing is funnier than when you're going, okay, this is a heavily crowded room filled with smoke, and you roll the dice to sneak out, and you get a 1. So the DM goes, so you go to sneak out, and you jump on top of the bar, and everyone looks at you and sees you, and you gotta play it off, because part of the fun of D&D, you're constantly in character. You constantly have to explain what's happening, because we can't see what's happening. There's no video game in front of us.
Part of the
It's all in
fun...
your head.
Part of the fun of D&D is putting a character who has never sang in his life before up on stage to go sing a song, and he rolls a nat 20 and ends up becoming a celebrity for the rest of the campaign.
Part of D&D is...
Listen to D&Dads.
Part of D&D is having a character... This is a personal story of mine. Well, we had to escape a city. So we stole a rainbow boat called the Gay Boat, and then our monk, who was really fast swimming, raced it across while we were sailing across, and won. Then we proceeded to turn that boat into a car and give it wings, and it could glide.
Here's a
That's
personal
not a
story.
joke.
You made a flying car in Dungeons and Dragons?
It only glided, because our
Here's-
artificer wasn't that good.
Here's a
only
personal story
glided,
about
folks.
D&D. I've mentioned these guys. The one campaign that we tried to do when I was in high school, where our DM, fell asleep every time. He did this anyway. There were multiple times where I had to call him to try to get him to wake up before something important. But
Oh, you know what? We've had that same issue with Patrick. This is a shout out to Mackenzie, who knows Patrick and how much he oversleeps. It'll be like, we're gonna play at 8 on Wednesday, and then it's 9:30 on Wednesday. He's like, hey guys, sorry, I was sleeping.
oh yeah, no, multiple times we just resorted to playing Gardic Phone. Unrelated.
Fair.
But
That was Jordan.
But basically, so we're just fighting a bunch of skeletons. It's the first encounter. I proceeded to roll a 3, a 2, and a 7. I tried to use acid spray twice. Both times, it just fell on me.
Yeah.
One time, this was the lowest of the rolls. There was a skeleton. It had 1 HP. 1 HP. This thing, it was literally just a head. I tried to kick it. I rolled a 2 or a 3. I tripped on it, and I fell on its ribs, and I almost died. I think I got to 1 health.
That's just bad DMing.
That's mean DMing.
If your player rolls bad, don't punish them for
No.
it other than what you wanted to happen didn't happen.
Don't punish them for it, but definitely humiliate
If you
them
don't,
for
if they
it.
get, if your marshal gets a nat 1 trying to swing their sword, don't make them break their sword. Don't make them attack their friends, because you don't do that to the spellcasters, do you?
Make
No.
your-
Here's the problem.
Make them almost
Here's the
drop their
problem.
sword and then trip over their untied shoelaces and then not fall, but definitely be like kind of like shaking
Get a
about it.
little
and everyone-
embarrassed.
And
See,
everyone's kind of like
here's
looking
the
at
problem.
them.
This was not a campaign that he made.
Still, you shouldn't take damage for falling into a skeleton.
No, it was on its rib cage,
Yeah.
on its broken rib cage.
But he chose to make that happen. He
Yep.
just,
That's the point of DMing.
Oh no, he had no idea how to DM either.
yeah,
So.
that's a bad DM move.
The point
You
of
shouldn't-
DMing is to know how your world works and then break those rules because your party is full of pathetic little idiots who don't know what they're doing and need a
But-
little bit of
Oh no,
guidance from mommy.
two people's characters did actually die, but our DM was nice
There's-
and he made it so that we went to an inn and then had them revived.
So there's a fun phrase in D&D. It is called failing upward. If your players roll
The
bad,
ball is rolling up.
if your players roll bad, let them fail, but don't set them backwards because of it. Let them fail, but let them move forward a little bit with that failure. Let that weigh on their character. Let that impact what their character does. But don't punish them.
If you need a great example of failure and even full character death actually being played up for a better story beat, listen to Not Another D&D podcast where notorious college humor veteran Jake Hurwitz, who you might know, you might not, the Jake and Amir podcast, don't know if you've... Yeah, you'll know him if you see him and hear him. But, there's also Emily Axford,
Love Emily Axford.
Brian Murphy,
Emily Axford is very good at D&D.
Caldwell Tanner,
Don't know them.
Drawfee. He's good. Anyways, so Jake Hurwitz was very new to the game, and his characters kept dying and kept getting into awful situations. And instead of just letting him perish like any other DM would, Murph decided to instead let his character die, give him a new character to play the side campaign to go resurrect his old character,
Yeah.
and also kind of just let him fumble into... He basically baby-proofed it,
You
and
know-
that's the number one rule of DMing, baby-proof.
In a one-shot with some online friends
Listen
from
to
a party,
Listen to AdPod.
my character was a Kenku, a little bird warlock who had a contact with a genie. The genie was housed in a wine bottle. It was a low-level one-shot, so my character died. It wasn't fun. We wanted to let me keep playing. So instead of having my DM going, your character's dead. You don't get to play with the rest of us for the rest of the session. No. Instead, what happened was my character's patron looked at them, went, really? And brought them back to life. But with a cost. Their feathers now looked and felt like the outside of a wine bottle.
Ooh, dangerous.
But they were still feathers.
Real quick, I heard a story from like way back in the day, like 3.5 era, where this kid, his like older brother, really liked playing D&D, and he wanted to play D&D with his older brother, but he wouldn't let him play with them. So eventually, he had to concede. So he gave the kid a cat to play as in 3.5. And then when the cat inevitably died after the actions of the other party members, he said, "All right, you're done playing. You can go now."
That just reminds me of...
And the plot twist is that is the childhood story of one of the members of D&D.
So, there's something I can't explain because you don't have time, but the story of the head of Vecna.
Don't even.
Do you know that story?
Don't get
do you
into
know that?
it.
No. Do you know that story specifically? The head of Vecna?
Vaguely. Don't get
I'm
into
just going to
it.
not explain it, but Vecna, he doesn't have one of his eyes and one of his hands. They're missing. But you can get them as a player and attach them to your character. In this campaign that was run, it's only been tales told.
We
There's
do
no
have 4
recordings of
minutes.
it. But there were 2 parties competing each other. So one of them went, we fake the head of Vecna, where we trick the other party into thinking they can have Vecna's intelligence and his head. But to do that, you have to cut off your own head and then put it on. So they tricked the other party into thinking that. And the other party, I'm not joking, multiple characters cut off their own heads and killed their own characters trying to get the head of Vecna. D&D is a very fun game where you can do a lot of really funny, really stupid things. That's one of the most fun
Man,
parts of it.
If I had time, I would tell you guys about the Space Jam campaign. but I
D&D
don't.
can be whatever you want. That is the beauty of it. That's why it's the world's greatest role-playing game.
The world's greatest role-playing
Because
game.
it has these basic rules. But once you know the rules, what's the most important rule of anything once you know the rules?
Break them.
Break the rules. You can play D&D in whatever setting you want. There's a setting where you are traveling through space on a pirate ship with slime people sentient bugs, monkeys that can glide like sugar gliders and flying squirrels, and elephants that for some reason really love guns.
I want to run a campaign where you're literally just restaurant owners who have to get their restaurant back from the evil Guy Fieri.
Please, can we please play D&D and D&D and D?
Diners and drive-ins and dives and Dungeons and Dragons.
Diners, drive-ins, dives, Dungeons and Dragons.
Not particularly in that order, but I think I'd like to run it. How do Thursdays work for you?
Busy in the morning.
How's Thursday evening sound for D&D and D&D and D?
Please.
Sure.
Great, see you then.
Nice.
Can I very, very briefly talk about Magic the Gathering? And
You know what?
'Cause
How
we have
about
2 minutes.
How about this? Do that as a teaser for next time.
Yes.
No, next time I want to talk about concept albums.
Ooh.
No, not actually.
Oh,
we
wait.
could do the hockey episode next time.
Ooh, you can get your hockey episode.
Yeah. So I want to very briefly
Alright,
talk
next
about
episode,
Magic
hockey.
the Gathering, but with its connection to D&D. Because
Good.
in recent years, Magic the Gathering cards have started to have sections that are basically you have to have a D20 because there's different actions that you get depending on what you roll.
Huh.
And it's like, also I remember I was at Barnes & Noble, I think, and I saw one of like the campaign books, whatever the hell they're called. I don't actually know what they're called.
Yeah.
But one of them was, I forgot which plane it is.
Strixhaven?
You have a
No,
minute.
not Strixhaven.
Planescape.
You have a minute.
No. There's one, it was like the big plane from like 2016. I forgot what it was. I will find it later. But basically,
You have
me and
less
my
than a
dad,
minute.
Oh, yeah, we have to hurry up.
unfortunate. Me and my dad love Magic the Gathering. That's basically all I have to say.
So, as our normal outro goes, we hope you learned something. If you did, and think D&D sounds fun, there was a club on campus for it, Dice and Decks.
Go
where-
find it.
You'll find it.
You know.
Yeah. We hope you learned something. If you want to learn more about it or want to ask us about it or just tell us we did a great job.
Or tell me I did a bad job. I'm open to criticism.
Jordyn, you're the one with the short one with purple hair.
Phoenix, you're the tall one with the purple hair.
And Victoria, we'll hear you.
You'll know her when you hear her.
Yeah, you will know when
You'll hear her
me.
before you see her because she's actually, despite what she says, she's actually pretty short.
I've never said that I'm tall.
You say you're average.
I am. The average height of
No.
a woman in the United States is 5'3".
And you are?
5'3".
Anyways, that's enough of you.
Anyways, yeah, that's enough of this. We should actually wrap up.
It's been a delight, folks.
It is 5 o'clock. We no longer have this room. This is time
I'm
for other people to
hungry.
run a show, and we need food. We're hungry.
I have to go on a train, so I need to eat.
Thank you for listening. It's been a lovely having you. Night night.